This footage is from the North Somerset Council Cabinet meeting on the 15th of October 25. Councillors were voting whether to approve the new North Somerset Local Plan, a blueprint for where 23,500 homes will be built over the next 15 years. Residents and councillors opposed the plan, arguing it prioritises targets from central government over local needs and sustainability. We believe planning should start from the ground up, asking what homes and communities do we actually need and how can we build them sustainably. This video will show you some highlights from the debate.
Hello, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Lucy Byrne from Pill. I'm representing over 1,500 residents who have signed a petition organised by Sustainable Pill and District to object to excessive house building proposals on our Greenbelt, to challenge the lack of adequate consultation by North Somerset Council, and to stand up for our community. The proposals for 1,100 new dwellings are 5 times higher than the proposals in our evidence-based neighbourhood plan. Almost 50% growth in 15 years will lead to a breakdown in social cohesion, losses to local wildlife, dangers to health from motorway pollution, increased risks of flooding due to runoff, damage to residents' health and well-being from the vast reduction in safely accessible, open, green spaces, road safety dangers from increased traffic. All are amplified to unacceptable levels with such high numbers of dwellings in this developer-led plan. Junction 19 is already dangerously overloaded. This plan states that there are small-scale deliverable measures that are capable of addressing the issue. However, we have seen no evidence for this. Highways England have not yet completed their report to see if mitigations are possible. To proceed now is a major risk. The lack of adequate local consultation, no more than 29 respondents for any one of the 5 sites, leaves this plan open to major obstacles, objections and delays. We have seen no evidence that limited additional engagements have informed any elements of the plan. Residents have lost faith in the consultation process and trust in the council. Dealing with the fallout of disempowered, disaffected and angry communities is a significant risk. As Cabinet members, we know you are under immense pressure to vote this plan in today. You are being told that the risks of no plan are too high, but the risks of pushing ahead too quickly are greater. A more robust choice would be to delay for a few more months, properly consult with local residents, wait for the Highways report, supplement your developer-led plan with a community-led spatial plan, then produce a plan for all, not just those who stand to profit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. So obviously we'll be addressing some of these matters during the meeting later, but I'm sure that the Cabinet member, Annemieke Waite, will also want to pick up some of those points with you after the meeting.
This plan delivers on the government's standing method housing requirement. Over 23,000 new homes across the plan period. But it does so in a way that aligns with our spatial strategy, our climate goals, and our commitment to fairness across the district. Alongside homes, the plan identifies a range of employment sites, around 73 hectares in total, to ensure that our residents have access to good quality local jobs and to strengthen the resilience in our economy.
The numbers set by national government have gone up and up after successive Conservative governments, and now this Labour government has carried on a myth of growth at any cost. Build more houses and you'll reduce the price. Unfortunately, this is a myth that I do not believe in. And many of my residents have also seen this fact. So it is a real worry, what are we doing here today? However, I can reflect that this is national policy that is putting the pressure on us. I do understand the need for housing that people can afford, and in a number of different locations across the district. When I speak to residents in Backwell, they acknowledge that we will need housing for the next 15 years. However, I'll now refer to the data that's been available on what is reasonable growth based on need. Referring to the Housing Needs Assessment of September 2023, it stated that based on detailed analysis of local evidence, the overall need was for 993 developments per annum. And to take the planned period, to round that up to 1,000, it would be 15,000 over 15 years. What this Labour government is doing is forcing North Somerset Council to develop a plan with over 8,000 homes it doesn't need, and most of it, if not all of it, is to be developed in the Greenbelt. In Backwell, in Pill, as this resident spoke about, in Portishead, and in the Greenbelt outside Dundry and Long Ashton. And for me, that is just not good enough. Backwell has had 40% growth already consented. But what we're proposing here is 118% growth on Backwell. It's disproportionate, and without guaranteed funding streams, it is unsustainable. East of Backwell is a much more complex site than this paper suggests, with significant surface water issues which are not being addressed and indeed exasperated by consent on housing at Farley Field. The list of required infrastructure and amenities for Backwell is vast. And again, something I've spoken about at council meetings is the systems are wrong, that the only way we're providing our council services is having the developers pay for these services. This is a broken system, and it really worries me that this is how services are being provided. And residents know that, and it worries them too.
I'm here to speak on behalf of myself and young people when I say that this local plan does not provide for young people. Housing is unaffordable and will not come down with building more housing. Housing is an asset. It holds value for that purpose because of the way in which the government has designed housing. Social and affordable housing lists are massive and will continue to grow, and I do not believe, even with the 50% target or that we're 40% targets that we're proposing in this local plan, we will not get to a position where young people are then next on that list. We are not prioritised, mainly rightly so, because we do not always have the necessary needs. However, we will end up in a position where there are people that in their 30s and 40s in this local authority that are not having houses. It will add more strain onto our local services, and we need to address that through this local plan. The issues raised by my fellow members around infrastructure, to me, is the result of the council that is urban sprawl and restricted, and we are trying to resolve that issue by creating more urban sprawl. To me, the mega house builders that massively profit off of this are not going to stop urban sprawl and build the kind of housing that we need, because the money is not in the right place for that currently. The only way I see us as a local authority out of this situation is for us to build our own housing, and I am putting that on record that I do believe that as a local authority we should be looking into building our own housing and delivering for the people, especially young people, because time and time again we complain on this council that we have an ageing population, and that is hitting us hard from the taxpayer money and from an economy point of view. I think we need to address that issue at the root, which is that it is unaffordable for young people to live in this authority and work in this authority.
I don't think there's anything really that's been mentioned here today that I would disagree with. I think everybody accepts the need for housing that we have in this country. Everybody seems to be equally offended by the areas that have been chosen for the housing, which to a certain extent, I guess, means that the plan must be relatively fair if we offend everybody in the same way. We have a housing needs assessment. In a perfect world, the government would have said, take your housing needs assessment and that's what you need to build. But that's not where we are, is it? And there's the issue that we should be building these houses ourselves.
We'll move to the vote on the recommendations that have been proposed and seconded. So could colleagues indicate their support for the recommendations or otherwise? Thank you. That's unanimously carried. So we will move on to item 7.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see more updates, please like and subscribe this video.